Alright, so today I'm breaking down every lead sourcing database out there, from the ones that you will use like 80% of the time, all the way to the lesser known industry gold mines that most people miss. So these industry specific databases are where you're going to find leads that no one is hitting, kind of like agency directories, healthcare lists, architectural platforms, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to find them, how to use them, and why they let you play like a completely different game. So the goal is to give you guys value in terms of how I think about lead sourcing. That way you guys have everything that you need to get up and running yourselves. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with the ones that you will use like 80% of the time. So these are simple public tools. Some are paid, some offer free trials, but most of them are paid, that you're going to use to source leads and prospects. And these are the ones that like I routinely use, and you'll find yourself using them most of the time, like 80% of the time. So first we have Apollo, LinkedIn, whether it's LinkedIn Sales Navigator or just regular LinkedIn. We also have Crunchbase, and we also have Y Combinator. Now, Y Combinator is kind of like one of the lesser known like lead sourcing databases, but I wanted to include it here because it's still one of the big ones. Okay. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is Apollo. Okay. So let me pick my draw here so I can actually explain. So we have Apollo, right? Let's pick the color yellow because it's the color of Apollo, right? So we have Apollo. Let me pick my pen. Now, Apollo, a lot of people are saying that Apollo scraping is dead. And I've heard this probably like 50 times over the last few years. And I'm going to show you guys like how to scrape Apollo in a very simple way using Amplify, which is kind of like a marketplace for scrapers. But first, let's talk about Apollo. Now, to give you guys some context, Apollo is a lead sourcing database. And let me just walk you through it. So this is Apollo. So the AI sales platform for smarter, faster revenue growth. So what does that mean? Well, it's basically like a database where you can find B2B prospects. You can also find B2C prospects. You can find like any niche, whatever industry, from healthcare all the way to like cybersecurity, sports, hospitals, whatever, you name it. Okay. Now Apollo, here's what's happening under the hood. Now Apollo pulls leads from LinkedIn. So the owners of Apollo actually they get data from LinkedIn, which makes sense because LinkedIn is kind of like the biggest lead sourcing database out there. It has kind of like all the contacts of the B2B space and also the B2C space because everyone just hangs out in LinkedIn, right? Everybody has a LinkedIn account if they are running a company, right? So they pull leads from LinkedIn. Now, what they do under the hood, so kind of like you guys understand, is that when they pull those leads from LinkedIn, LinkedIn does not include emails. All right? The emails of the prospects. Now, we need the emails of the prospects so we can actually reach out to them. So they don't do this. So the way they do it is they kind of like include like an enrichment process, like an enrichment step. It's called enrichment. Enrichment is they try to guess the email address of that lead from LinkedIn. Okay. And they kind of like provide you in like a table here. For example, let me scroll down. They give you, for example, first name of the person, last name, the company of that lead, and they also give you email, right? So whether this email is valid or not, we don't know. So this is the reason why whenever we scrape Apollo, we need to verify the emails. So when we verify the emails, we kind of like have an idea whether this email actually exists, because we only want to talk to prospects where their email actually exists, because a lot of people actually change jobs. Some people are probably, if they are using like Google or like Microsoft, because since it's a company, they have like professional email accounts. Sometimes like they miss like a payment, like subscription, whatever. And sometimes their email does not work, right? Sometimes it's invalid. So this is the reason why we always verify emails from Apollo. Always, when you scrape from Apollo, always verify the emails. Okay. So like I said, Apollo pulls leads from LinkedIn. And the way they do it, like I said, is just they have like a giant list. This is kind of like how these platforms like actually got started. Is there was like a bunch of breaches back then, and people were able to like scrape a bunch of million leads, right? And they kind of like now charge us for the leads, right? So it's kind of like the Bitcoin back then, right? When people like where Bitcoin was actually cheap, they actually bought it. So these people, the founders of Apollo, they were smart enough to kind of like take advantage of that breach, and they essentially just got those leads for them, and now they charge it. So kudos to them, right? So this is Apollo. Now, let me walk you guys through how to scrape Apollo, because there's a lot of people that say, I don't know how to scrape Apollo. I'm going to show you guys a very, very efficient way, but also affordable way. So the one that I use is Amplify. Now, there's multiple ones. There's also Amp-Leads. This is the one, Apollo Lead Scraping Simplified. There's also Leads Friday. This is kind of like new platforms that came, right? So this allows you to scrape actually everything like SalesNav, Crunchbase, LinkedIn, Apollo. Now, just to give you guys some context, I'm not affiliated with these guys. I'm just giving you kind of like what I'm doing right now. That way you guys have like the source of the knowledge, right? From someone who's actually doing it. So the one that I recommend you use to scrape Apollo is just type in Apollo, and this is the one from this guy, Code Pioneer. So the way it works is that in order for them to bypass the Apollo security, is they came up with a scraper that pulls data from Apollo without actually saying it, right? And let me show you how it works. So if you go to this scraper right here, you will notice that affordable alternative to Zoom Info, Alusha, and Apollo. Get business email, get personal email, etc. So Apollo alternative. So in order for them to actually host this scraper and Amplify, like I said, Amplify is kind of like a marketplace for scrapers. Scrapers are just tools that allow you to extract data at scale from the internet, whether it's Apollo, Crunchbase, LinkedIn, whatever. So the way you do it is you essentially just put the number of records to fetch. For example, if I want 100 here, okay, I can put the file name. For example, I can put my list here, my list demo. I can go to job titles and I can put whatever job titles of whatever prospects in with whatever industry I want to go for. For example, I can put CEO. I can also put, for example, VP sales, right? You can add as much as you want, right? Seniority level, this is if you want to like fetch by seniority, for example, the founder, owner, C-suite. I think this is a really cool filter. Functional level also, where there it's like the finance department. Is it the finance or finance? I think it's finance, right? Education, human resources, information technology, legal, whatever you want. It can also include the location, for example, United States, which is awesome. You can fetch with whatever you want. So it's the same thing as Apollo, just they built like a different UI, okay? So this is kind of like a way for them to kind of bypass the security of Apollo, because Apollo don't want you to scrape them, because in order for you to actually export from Apollo, you need to go through the paid plan, which is $129 probably, and they charge you per credit. So we don't want to do this. We want to do this at scale. We want to scrape, a bunch of leads with like an affordable price, right? Not crazy price, but it's still within like a respectful range, right? So if we go to the email status, you always want to make sure it's validated. Now, the reason why they include not validated is because, like I said, they have their own enrichment way to find the emails. Now, when they find the emails, just guessed, okay? Just guess. They just guess. And now you want to make sure it's validated because they also have like another step, which includes they have like a cheap way to verify the emails using like their own SMTP. SMTP is basically like the way these email enrichment platform works, or like email validation tools, is they send a request to like a server, kind of like a handshake. The server just says, yes, hey, I exist. It responds. Now we can tell that this email actually is verified or valid, right? Now, I do not trust it, and you should not trust it. You always want to verify the emails from Apollo, like always. Company website, this is if you want to include a company website from a list. You're never going to be using it, to be honest. In terms of the size, this is where you're going to use the company size, right? We have from what? From 0 to 1. From solopreneurs all the way to 1,000 plus, which is really, really good. Industry, this is where it gets interesting and fun. So you have sports, construction, retail, hospitality, you name it. So any industry you want, right? So for example, let's remove the sports and let's just do, for example, staff and recruitment. Okay. By the way, recruitment, if you want to get your first client, one of the best industries to go for is because the pain is there, right? And the reason why the pain is there is because, let me pick the black color. Like recruitment, the reason why it's really good niche to go for is because what they do is essentially is they have candidates, right? They have candidates or roles within that recruitment staff and agency. Okay. And these candidates are kind of like whatever. It could be like software engineers. It could be any role from manufacturing all the way to like IT, accounting, whatever. Now, the cool part is that every single day there's a new company. There's a new startup every single day. Now, these startups, in order for them to grow, well, they need to hire people. So like it's very beautiful because there's supply and demand. The supply is from the recruitment, and then the demand from the companies hiring, right? So there's always this constant supply and demand, which makes it a really, really good industry to work with. And I actually niche down in terms of like the recruitment. And I know a lot of people that are just niching down recruitment, pulling like 30, 40K a month just in the recruitment industry, right? And you get to also like go deep. You kind of like understand in terms of like what fulfillment works for them, what kind of systems they want. For example, you can sell them like a lead finder or like companies hiring, right? I have like a bunch of systems in here in this channel, kind of like a job scraping system that allows them to find companies that recently just posted a job, right? And there's a bunch of signals also for fulfillment. For example, I mean, think about it. If a company just raised funding, I mean, they recently got money from investors, they're probably looking to hire more people because the money is there. And what do we do with money? Well, we need to allocate in order for us to grow the company. So how do we grow the company? Well, we need a better product. Boom, we just found the pain. We need a better product. So in order for us to have a better product, well, we need engineers. How do we find engineers? Well, trying to do this ourselves, we need like an internal HR team, like all this crazy stuff. Why not just work with a recruitment staffing agency? So you kind of get like understand kind of like the thought process behind this and why recruitment is such a good industry, right? Because the pain is there, supply and demand is all there, right? Now let's go back here. So we have also the keywords here. So we have the keywords. So essentially you can add how many, like whatever keywords you want. For example, we can put IT, for example. You can put IT here. Can put software, anything that you want really. Can also include keywords that you want. For example, I don't want, for example, accounting. And you can also filter by revenue, which I think it's really good. Whenever you build a list, by the way, always make sure to go for companies at least making $1 million a year, right? Because you do not want to deal with broke agencies. And since you're like, I don't know, like selling them like a system for like, for example, 3K or like 5K, in order for them to actually pay you, they need to be making like a good amount of money, right? That justifies paying you that fee, right? Or like that upfront fee. So always go for minimum, like $1 million a year. There's also good, which is the funding. So you can also look for like companies that recently funded. So from seed round, angel round, series A. The ones that I recommend always series A, B, C. Seed round and angel round, they're still like asking money for investors. And like the what I found like the best results is series A, B, C. Okay. Now, if you go to run options, you can also make sure it's no timeout here. There's really like it's just optional, right? And I make sure to click on save and start. Now, this is a paper event. You can tell that if you go to log, so starting leads finder, actor searching for matching leads based on your filters. So essentially now what they're doing is they have kind of like an AI agent, kind of like an MCP that goes to Apollo, has its own cookie and scrapes the data for you. What do I mean by has its own cookie? Because usually if you want to scrape like Apollo, you require a session cookie. And a session cookie is, let me just explain. It's not a chocolate chip cookie, even though chocolate chip cookies are the best cookies, right? So what is a session cookie, San? Well, session cookie is kind of like an ID, right? Let me pick my pen. So this is a session cookie. Let's pretend this is a cookie. This is a chocolate chip, right? That makes me hungry, right? So we have like a session cookie here, and it has your kind of like your credentials. This is your credentials. Kind of like the browser ID, like the name of the browser that you're using, etc., etc. And this is needed for the scraper to work, okay? Because the scraper uses your session cookie or your credentials to log in on behalf of your Apollo account, whatever account you're trying to use, to actually scrape the data, right? And they do this automatically through pagination, all this stuff. Now, you do not need to like nerd about this. I'm not a software developer. I just know a little bit about this. So you don't need to go crazy about it. You just need to know this is a session cookie that's just kind of like allows the scraper to scrape the data on behalf of you, kind of like your ID that has your first name and last name. Now, the cool part about the scraper is that it uses its own session cookie. So essentially they have like multiple cookies, right? And they use each one of them, and they kind of like rotate them. Okay, so this, think about it like this, like a whole batch of cookies, like thousands of cookies, and they kind of like rotate between them. Okay, and they go scrape. So it's their own like session cookie that they have, its own cookie. Let's go back to the run. So there we go, scraped 100. Keep in mind, this is just a free account. I still haven't upgraded my starter account in Epify. So in order for me to like kind of like scrape thousands and thousands and thousands, I need to upgrade it to I believe it's the starter. Yeah, the starter plan. Highly recommend you guys go for it. It's just very, very affordable. And you can see we got the emails, we got the company name, got the company website, the LinkedIn. We also go, if you go to the all fields, you get the company description. So within this company description, you can essentially just feed it to AI, have like a very, very good personalized line. Also have the company domain, company founded year, company address. So all of this stuff, right? You can literally go to company states, company LinkedIn UID, company technologies, right? Headline of the person is the C-suite, job title, keywords, last name, even like the person's LinkedIn, right? So now the only thing you have to do is simply just export, right? You can totally just export this as CSV, or you can like automate the entire stuff using make.com, N8N, or like Zapier, all right? And you can essentially just build like a system that takes in this data and then kind of like just verifies this entire stuff and then takes in the company description, feeds it to AI, and generates like a highly, highly personalized copy. So this is Apollo. This is how we scrape Apollo. It took us like 1 minute, right? And it's very, very affordable. It's a paper event. So it's a paper event, yeah. All right, so that's how you scrape Apollo. TLDR, Apollo gets data from LinkedIn. They do their own little enrichment in the back end, and they kind of like just give you emails. The only thing you have to do is simply just verify them, and you're off to the races, right? Now let's close this up, and now let's talk about LinkedIn, the big monster. So think about LinkedIn as kind of like the source, right? So every platform that you know, kind of like Apollo, Crunchbase, they all like pull the leads from Apollo, because like I said, LinkedIn has like the biggest directory of like every B2B or B2C business. Okay. And let me just explain this for you. So we have LinkedIn. Okay. So LinkedIn, there's multiple platforms. So within LinkedIn, there's Sales Navigator, Sales Nav, which is kind of like a product that they essentially just provide for us people who want to make money, right? Because the whole purpose of a lead sourcing database is just make money. As you guys already know, we're doing this to make money, right? Not just to like connect with people and just look for companies for some weird way, right? So we have Sales Nav, and we also have like just the generic company search. Now, in terms of the company search, you can pretty much get what like everything that you want just from the company search. But there's also, like I said, Sales Nav, which is a product that allows you to kind of like track signals. For example, signals like headcount growth within a company, which kind of makes your outreach a little bit more hyper targeted. Can also fetch by posted on LinkedIn, right? So there's a bunch of features there. Now it is paid. I believe it's like $99 a month. There's multiple ways to get it cheaper from resellers, probably like $10 a month. It's kind of like a couple like gray hat methods that you can get it. If you dig deep, right? I know a couple resellers that can essentially just get you LinkedIn for $10 a month. And I know a lot of people actually in the community that just pay $10 a month for LinkedIn Sales Nav. But that's beside the point. You can totally just use the LinkedIn search or essentially just pay the $99. They also give you like a free trial. So free trial Sales Nav. If you haven't redeemed it, you can go and redeem it, which is this one, Sales Nav. Sales Solution. Like I said, it's like a product, okay? So you can start your free trial. They give you like 30 days, okay? And there's also, like I said, company or companies LinkedIn. If you just type in this, you can go to company directory. We're notified your operations. Interesting. So always LinkedIn has some issue here. So if I go, for example, and I type in, I don't know, like recruitment, if I type in, for example, recruitment here, and I can go to companies, I can go to all filters, and I can essentially just filter by headcount, filter by industry, staffing. They have a bunch of industries, company size, job listings, etc., etc. Now, this is just the companies, all right? If you want to get the companies on LinkedIn, but if you want to use Sales Nav, you can get the personas and the job titles, right? Now, how do we scrape this? Again, we're just going to go to Epify, and there's multiple ones. You can go to LinkedIn Sales Nav from this guy, Curious Coder. Right? So you scrape it using the LinkedIn cookie, so your own session cookie. How do I get my own session cookie? Because previously we talked about some scrapers, they use their own cookie. So you just want an extension. It's called edit this cookie. So this is edit this cookie, right? And the only thing you have to do is kind of just go here. Once you download it, go to edit this cookie and always make sure to go to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So cookies copied to clipboard, and the only thing you have to do is simply just paste it here. And that's it. So you see like the domain expiration date, kind of like your own credentials here. And then you scroll down, you kind of like just put here the URL of the sales nav search. Make sure you always go to residentials and number total of records required. For example, here we put 1,000. You always want to go for 2,500. So you don't risk your account getting bound. Okay, so always 2,500. So this is the first way. You can also use Phantom Buster, which is really good. This is a platform that allows you to also scrape LinkedIn, right? Now, there's multiple ways to kind of like use Phantom Busters for free. And I believe someone came up with it. I believe it's Phantom Buster. Oh yeah, download unlimited free leads in Phantom Buster. So this guy actually came up with this method to scrape this, and people are actually, hey, this actually works. It still works till this day. So there's multiple ways, like I said, to scrape LinkedIn, and there's people who actually come up with this. So like I said, you can use Epapa or you can use Phantom Buster, which is going to be this one. All thing you have to do is just basically put the search. Let me go back. Go to dashboard, look for solutions and LinkedIn Sales Nav. So it's the Sales Navigator Search Export. So you go here and you essentially just give them essentially the search URL. You must really like us. Yeah. Reason why they gave me this thing here, because I have multiple slots. So let me just delete it. And then let me just go back to solutions, LinkedIn Sales Nav. And now I can essentially just use it. So you click on use now, same thing. You just put your Sales Navigator search and you need like an extension. It's called Phantom Buster extension. So you just download it and it kind of like just connects your LinkedIn account to Phantom Buster. Okay, so you can use this or you can use, like I said, Epify. Now let's talk about the second thing, which is company search, the normal one. So again, let's just go to Epify, and the one that you want to use is LinkedIn company. The one that I recommend you guys use is this one from Curious Coder again, LinkedIn Company Scraper. Okay, so you feed in the URL here and then essentially just get up and running. So this is LinkedIn. Now let's talk about what you can get from LinkedIn. So when you scrape LinkedIn, you're going to get the full name of that lead, company, the generic stuff, kind of like the company name, the full name, the first name, last name, the headline, the title. So headline, title, etc., etc. But you're not going to get the email because, like I said in the beginning, Apollo pulls leads from LinkedIn and they do their own email, like enrichment way to find the emails. So what you need is you need like an email enrichment platform. So either you're gonna get an email finder. So essentially what you do is just give it like a name or like a company and a company domain or a name, and it finds the emails for you. Or you can use hunter.io to find emails because, like I said, when you scrape LinkedIn, they don't include emails. Or you can use Prospeo. Really good platform too. What I've done is just came up with my own platform to kind of like find and verify contacts at scale. Similar to an email finder, is just free for people in my community, right? Because I didn't want them to pay for an email finder. I think sometimes it could be a little bit more pricey, but keep in mind that when I got started, I was paying for an email finder until recently that I came up with my own platform, right? So this is how kind of like LinkedIn works. Now let's talk about Crunchbase. Now Crunchbase is really good because now we're talking about recently funded companies, investor details, etc. And let me just walk you guys through it. Crunchbase is really good. I routinely scrape leads from Crunchbase. So I have kind of like here my free trial on Crunchbase. Thank you, Crunchbase. It's like they're onboarding. So they have like this AI search feature, but I don't use it. I just go to advanced search companies. And by the way, you can go here and you will see the companies. We have contacts, right? Which is awesome. We have investors. So that's insane, right? We can also find investors. Let's say, I don't know, you want to do outreach for investors. Maybe your clients want to talk to investors, right? The best way to do it is just find them through Crunchbase. But you want to go to companies, and then you can essentially go to overview. Again, you can filter by employees, description keywords, industry. You will notice that there's SaaS industry here, which is not available in like this term SaaS is not available in like LinkedIn, because they understand that within Crunchbase, it's like people come in here to kind of like find SaaS companies, recently funded companies, AI. So there's like AI here, generative AI, which is really, really good. You can also go for founded, for example, founded past year, for example, here. So Think Machine Labs was recently founded in February 2025. So last year. You also get the description, number of employees, stage, right? Also get, if we go here, actively hiring, headquarters, for example, if you want it to United States. Actually, this is postal code. Headquarters location, for example, I put United States here, right? 10x.ai, Chama.ai. So these are all new companies. You can also, and the cool part, you can go to financials. And this is where it gets interested. Last funding rates. So for example, past 90 days, these are the companies that recently funded, which means they have money to invest in growth, whether it's sales systems, whether anything really. So they have the money. Last funding type, series A, B, C, obviously here. You can also go for insights, for growth insights, right? Growth, events, headcount growth, operational, product user growth. So these are all pain signals you can use in Crunchbase to find companies and be very, very targeted, right? There's company status. Always make sure it's for profit, right? Not non-profits. You want to deal with profit companies. This is huge when you are using Crunchbase. Always make sure it's for profit, which means they are like these for-profit companies. They do things for their own sake, which is their own company growth and company profits. So they're more likely to invest in your sales systems or whatever you're trying to sell them. Okay. So that's how you do it. Now, one more thing that I forgot to add before you even think about scraping this. What you want to do is you want to click on these three buttons and edit table view. Now, people mostly forget about this because you can add more enrichment. For example, let's say I want the founder. I can type founder. I want the company description. So description. It's there. Okay. So what can we add? So if you go to description, postal code, the website, super important, investor details, investor type, you can go industries, industry groups, primary industry, funding, number of funding rounds, funding status, last funding amount, top 5 investors, and click on apply. And now you have a bunch of things. So if I scroll to the right, there we go. Right, so I get a bunch of things here. I get the founders. See, here are the founders. Okay, now in order for you to export this, unfortunately you need to upgrade, but we're not going to do it because we're going to scrape it. And the way we're going to scrape it is again using Epify. So we want to go to Epify and type in Crunchbase. So the ultimate Crunchbase search scraper, this is the one. Try for free. This is really good. But keep in mind that you need to build your list before you scrape it. Always make sure to add these couple things here because people just look at this and they forgot that you can add whatever you want. So let's just go here. And again, you need to give them your own kind of like your own session cookie. And it's $5 per 1,000 results. So all you have to do, paste in the URL here, how many records that we want. So we have just 236. And this is where you kind of put the session cookies. You want to go here, go to the session cookie, edit this cookie, export, and put it here. Make sure the custom proxy is residential and make sure you save and start. Let me see. Maximum wait duration should be more than 5. Okay. Save and start. So now the scraper is going to use your own cookie. Check this out. So actual polling container image, whatever this is, right? And it's going to like use your own session cookie to scrape the leads from Crunchbase. And like I said, you can use Crunchbase for like investor details, recently funded companies, and you can see scrape 230-second records. And we can go here and we can just wait for a little bit. And done. 236 and very, very, very quickly. Don't you guys think? So how much it actually took us? 19 seconds to scrape 236 because it scrapes, I believe, by 500, 500, 500, which is awesome. So we get everything here. Again, you can export automate the hell out of this, and then you get everything, right? You get like the company type, the category, last funding ads. These are recently funded, like 9 September, so they have money. These are like ideal clients of our sales agency, right? This is how we scrape Crunchbase. Now let's talk about Y Combinator. So Y Combinator is kind of like a startup directory. It's where like OpenAI, Airbnb got funded. You see Sam Altman here. So top YC companies. So if you want to find like companies, you want to go to startup directory, and you kind of like filter by all batches, fall, summer, whatever, all of these companies that we don't actually know about, and we can scrape them. Now, the way we're going to scrape them is you want to go here. Again, we're going to use Epify, which is kind of like the source, and you're going to put Y Combinator. From this cat, I believe it's cats. Yeah. I believe, yeah, this is the one. There's like this guy has like this funny emoji. You know, there's like a developer is really, really good when they have like a meme, right? In their own picture. So there's this one, you can put like a query, and we can also go and search for like one with URL. Michael G. Okay. So it can also scrape founders. It's insane. I'm going to put this here. Scrape all companies. How many do we have? So I just want the fall. In total, 92. Okay, I'm going to scrape this. Save and start. So it's really, really good. You go to log, you will see that the scraper is actually going to scrape the data for me. And you essentially just give it the link of the batch that you want, right? You're going to see it in the output, which is awesome. So container, will run, command, whatever, is limited. So the number of records scraped by this run is limited for 25 for the free users. So yeah, you need to upgrade your account to the starter plan, which is totally worth it, right? I mean, think about it. Like, these are companies that raised millions, so they'll be able to pay you. Now, we can only get 25 because it's just a free trial account that I'm showing this demo with. But in your case, if you want to scrape Y Combinator, just upgrade to the starter plan, which is like $32, right? So scrape all companies is enabled. This will take longer, obviously, because they need to click on actually the company and check the founder, which is this guy, right? So it's like an additional step, right? So let's wait a little bit, because like I said, they need to like click the buttons and like scrape all this stuff for us. This guy, I chase rare moments when design engineer combine to make magical products. Interesting. So let's wait a little bit as we gather the data. And while this is scraping, let's actually talk about the next big thing, which is hidden directories. So I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's probably going to be pretty long. So let's talk about hidden in directories. And let me just close all these tabs here so we can actually get into it. Now, let's talk about this, right? So first of all, Saad, what is hidden directories? Well, hidden directories is kind of like when you're sourcing from niche directories that no one touches, because they are not necessarily marketed as lead sourcing databases. So they're not marketed as Apollo or like LinkedIn or Crunchbase or Y Combinator. They're kind of like just there, right? So they're there on the internet, and people like use them for just like research purposes. Maybe like they want to pull an article, they want to pick pull a list of, I don't know, whatever reason they want to go for. So you can find them as a clunky government PDF, an old school association member list, a speaker list from like an industry summit, a local agency directory in some weird corner of the internet. But that's exactly why they work, because they're hard to find and totally underused. So these are like kind of like agency registries, medical supplier lists, speaker panels, association members. And this is where most people actually don't go, because everyone like uses Apollo, LinkedIn, Crunchbase, and Y Combinator, and you will use them 80% of the time. But sometimes you might find yourself want to get, I don't know, like niche targeted, like a lead list from some industry they want to go for, maybe working with a client that has like a specific niche or like a specific industry, specific prospects they want to talk to, or like some sort of decision makers. So this is where you're going to use them, right? Now, normal people go here just for information, like I said, but for us, people who make a ton of money, it's a gold mine for lead sourcing. Now, I'm going to show you guys a step-by-step on how to actually find industry databases for lead sourcing. Think about it like not just giving you the fish, but also showing you how to fish the fish, because I want you guys to get in the habit to actually just pull this out yourselves, okay, without needing someone to show you the industry. So you want to like find your own way, because when you are working, it's not like you're going to have someone in your shoulder is going to tell you exactly go for this, right? But you'll have to do it your own, right? So step one is define the niche clearly. Okay, so we need to define a niche. So let's say, for example, we want aerospace suppliers. Like this is a very, very niched industry, or like digital marketing agencies, or like biotech startups. These are kind of like more known, but let's say aerospace suppliers. The geography could be whatever, UK, DACH, UK, whatever you want, US, the size, SMBs, funded startups association, etc. Once you define your niche clearly, you know what kind of niche you want to go for. You want to Google with intent. So these are like the search combos, because Google like is very, very good at compiling information, right? I mean, it's been there since the beginning of time, and they have like search combos that are extremely powerful, but no one actually uses. So for example, if I put aerospace suppliers directory, I can go here and I can find them. So ASAP Semiconductor. So these are like actually directories there. Now, nobody actually knows about this because you have to actually do the research and have a specific intent or a reason why you want to go for it, right? So there's vehicle system, like pilot operator system. So I don't even know about this. See? So these are all companies. If you click here, let's say we click on this. So to claim a supplier listing or view all our database, you must register. So essentially, it is like you need to register and get their data, right? But we can totally like scrape this, right? Using like an extension or something, right? And this is already done. As you can see, we have the company logo, etc., the company type, short description, all fields. So we get everything. If I go here, this is the website, short description, and it's kind of like the data that we have. And this is the primary partner. This is the founders. Okay, so let's go back here. So we found this. And then we can also look list of companies, top industry companies in year, industry supplies manufacturing database. So aerospace, and we can add. Let's go here. And then there we go. We found a couple ones. There we go. Locations, etc. All this stuff. And there's the website, which is awesome. Now we can totally scrape this, like I said, either using kind of like an extension. I have a couple ones here like Automa. And also I have instant data scraper, which allows you to kind of like just get the data from here. Or you can use another one, which is, I believe it's link grabber. So this is a link grabber. You can essentially just get the URLs, which is this one. I got the URL here, right? But keep in mind that there's a little bit of manual work. Unless you are like tech savvy and you want to like build a scraper for this, you can totally do it if you want to put the time and energy, or like just hire someone to do this for you, right? But you can totally get like at least like 1,000 if you just like find a way to just kind of like maneuver your way into getting the links. Because like I always say, if you have like a company domain, that's all that you need. Okay, so let's just go, for example, and use this Automa. So this Automa is really good because you can essentially just use the element selector, put it here, and you want to go to block, select block, get text, execute, and you can get the website, which is awesome. And you can essentially just dump this into Google Sheets and begin your enrichment. All right. So these are all ways you can use this. You can also use association member in whatever. Let's actually try this. Aerospace. Let's check this out. You can find them here again. Association lists. Let's say library, membership, board of directors, ASA companies. So I'm not really familiar with this, but you can tell that these are all companies. You can also like just copy everything and just begin your enrichment. Okay. So you can also add aerospace suppliers list.org or like engineering firms file type.pdf, for example. There we go. You kind of get companies here, and you can begin your enrichment process. And then you can also go here. There's a PDF. There's like an article, right? And here are some of the investors. So the top 200 firms, right? Now, if we zoom in, you can kind of find these. You can also use tools, suppliers, agencies for like a clear intent because you want to be scraping the web like a detective. Now, let's talk about the third step, which is auditing. Now, we just want to check if you can download the list as CSV, PDF, browsable. So that allows you to paginate, filter, whatever. And then it's useful. It has like names, URL, locations, and roles. So the goal here is not to like necessarily find everything like the emails, it's just to find what you want. Ideally, just a company name or like a website URL, so you can use that in terms of like your next step, which is going to be enrichment. You can also extract the company names and websites depending on the format. You can use that data miner, just like an extension in a website. Scrape data from any website using a click. You can use instant data scraper or scraper.io. You can use browse.io or like Phantom Buster. In terms of PDFs, you'd use Taboola. This is to extract from tables. And you can also use doc parser, which is really good too. Automate data extractions. These are all like tools that I use within my 180K a month agency. If it's CSV, just download and you can just enrich after that. And the last step is basically you can also layer in AI. Now, this is a prompt that you can use anywhere. So it's, I want to build a large list of company types, optional. And you will just upon a put, who do you sell specific trade? Please perform a search on the best places to find these types of companies and then return the following. Best places to find, how to extract, etc. And let's just use this. Let's go to ChatGPT. Or like Perplexity, whatever you want. Make sure there's like search here. So let's use GPT-5. Agent mode. What do we want? Web search. So I want to build a large list of aerospace companies. Aerospace, for example, let's remove this. Aerospace companies that include, for example, decision makers. Searching the web. Okay, let's fine tune this. For example, we can say the goal is free industry databases. Okay, we found one. So there we go, we found them. So there we go, we found it, yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's how you find like brokers, dealers. USA directory, yeah. Download the PDF version. Okay, let's check. Let me check if I'm recording. Yes, I am. Oh, check this out. So we also get, check this out, guys. So we found the person here. We found the website. We also got their phone, president. So there we go. We just found something that you wouldn't find on Apollo. And it's such a huge list. I can scroll this for like 2 hours. There we go. So that's how you do it. So we just used AI right now and we kind of like used this method here. So hopefully you guys found value in this video. Just to give you like a recap, you're going to use 80% of the time like Apollo, LinkedIn, Crunchbase, Y Combinator. You're also going to use hidden directories in terms of like if you want to be more niche to whatever industry you want to work with. Let's say you have a client that wants to work with aerospace, just what we did here. You can just use these methods kind of like an operator and browse the web like I said here, like a web detective, okay? So hopefully you guys found value in this one. Like I always say, get out there, take action. I believe in you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.